Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's time for another Captain's Table. And I'm still deciding how often I'd like to do these, but I'm thinking for now I'm going to do them twice a month or once every 2 weeks. And I'm going to do them on a Wednesday because I feel that most people probably work Monday through Friday, and they need something interesting to listen to in the middle of the week to make it through the week. Personally, I work Tuesday through Saturday, and I can tell you on Thursday, all I can sit there and think about is how many more hours in that day I have left. Oh... I've been playing a bit of World of Warships the last 2 weeks, but I've also been playing a lot more Armored Warfare in the last 2 weeks, as you can tell by the images on your screen. And yes, there will be more Armored Warfare content coming. They're also coming out with their new patch update, and from what I've read, they're kind of rolling it out in 2 or 3 patches. The next one to come out is something like patch 0.19, and that's coming out soon, and that's going to bring some changes to the game. Some of the changes that they made a long time ago, especially with things like artillery, not targeting you down. It used to be that the moment you were spotted, if there was artillery in the game, that was it. The artillery would pick you, and you would be the eternal focus of their efforts until either you or they were dead, which was incredibly frustrating. And a long time ago, they changed that. They thought that it was an AI bug. I mean, it's not really an AI bug, that's exactly what a player would do. And they changed it so that the artillery would pick other targets, because otherwise the artillery would effectively just hold their fire until you popped up again. But lately I feel like that has somehow been reverted back, because I've been playing a lot of games where I'll be spotted and the artillery will decide, hey, I'm going to shoot this guy. And even though there are other targets for it to shoot at, they're out in the open and easier to hit, they won't shoot at them. It'll wait till I'm detected again and it'll fire at me. And that's been really annoying. Really annoying. So I am looking forward to the new patch update. I haven't really been playing much of anything else, but I have been eyeballing Ghost Recon Wildlands. I have played several Ghost Recon games in the past, and I like the premise that the games offer. In fact, I think it would be kind of interesting to go back and dig out my old CD of Ghost Recon and do a retro Let's Play of the original PC version of Ghost Recon. No mods, no DLC, none of that. Just the original Ghost Recon in all of its glory. And, you know, I really liked the original Ghost Recon because of... I mean, it was kind of like Arma in the respect that if you got shot, you didn't regenerate health. If you got shot in the leg, you were slow the rest of the battle. If you got shot in the chest, your breathing was labored. You could get one shot killed, so you had to be pretty careful. More importantly, your squad, it was selected, and if they died in battle, they were dead. That was it. The rest of the game, you had to carry on without those people. And early on, in the first couple of missions, it didn't seem like too big of a deal. But later on, because of the way the points system worked, every mission you completed, you got a new skill perk that you could put into something. it became a really big deal to lose somebody that you had spent a lot of time, putting into weapons management, or to stealth, or to just other things. So I really liked that aspect of the game. I also liked that if you had a team member who was wounded, they had to sit out the next battle in order to recover. So again, getting somebody wounded was a bad thing, but of course you could bring them back. And then, if you completed the bonus objectives, you got, bonus characters who had their own unique weapons to play with on your team. And some of those characters that you got relatively early on, they were really good things. And, oftentimes I would end up replacing one or two of my team members with these specialists, because I really, really liked the weapons and the skills that they had. But I'd still keep my core team. So I think it would be fun to go back and do a Let's Play of that, assuming I can find the disc. I know I have it somewhere, I think. I just don't know what box it's stored in right now. But if you're interested in, maybe seeing that, or maybe seeing me play Ghost Recon Wildlands, let me know in the comments below. Speaking of comments, I did have a couple that were pretty good, one of which did ask me a question. Bradley Morgan wants to know what I do outside of YouTube and Twitch. What type of work do I do, and what type of work have I done? Well, the short answer to that is I've done a lot of different kinds of work. I currently work as a maintenance technician at an apartment building. So that's building facilities management, building engineering, handyman type work. Effectively, if you live in an apartment and you've ever had anything break, like your heater, your dishwasher, your refrigerator, your stove, your microwave, your bathtub, if you live in an apartment and you have something break that's an appliance in your unit, or something with the walls, or something with your windows or whatever, I'm the guy who you call, who comes in and fixes it. And depending on how it's broken, I may or may not stare at you awkwardly while I point it out to you that you are an idiot. I have a little more tact than that, but there have been occasions where I just come in to deal with work orders, and I'm seriously like, right, so the problem is you didn't close it all the way. I love looking the confounded and stupid look on people's faces when I tell them that. It's most enjoyable. Of course, I don't really like doing work orders, and I'm not actually the maintenance supervisor. He does most of the orders, as well as the heavy lifting and ordering of supplies. The vast majority of what I do at work is mostly turning units, which is effectively commercial residential painting, with the occasional minor repair jobs for walls and cabinets. And I really like that aspect of my job. It pays reasonably well for the amount of work that I actually have to put in, and it gives me an incredibly high degree of autonomy. Effectively, my boss and my supervisor, they leave me alone to do my thing. And that makes me extremely happy. I've had other jobs in the past where I've had micromanaging supervisors. I've had other jobs in the past where I've been expected to do way more for significantly less money. The other jobs in the past, before this job, I was a maintenance technician at another apartment building that had a micromanaging supervisor and boss. Before that, I was in facilities. I was part-time at a condo complex, and that was kind of an interesting situation that the whole job, I didn't know who to report to, because therefore half of my shift I was working with the office and office-related stuff, and half of the shift I was working with facilities and facilities-related stuff. So I start my shift doing a pool or hot tub pH balance test, checking to make sure there weren't any lights out anywhere in the building and replacing them if there were, sweeping up. And then for the second half, I would go and I would sit in the office while the office manager went to lunch, take deliveries, take phone calls, leave messages for people. So I had no idea who to report to, and I only lasted 3 months before I was done with the office drama that was there, and of course I found a full-time job doing something similar. Before that, I was a private security guard. Now, yes, at the very beginning, I was in fact a mall cop. I wore a uniform, I had a hat, I had a radio, and the mall that I actually started with, I also carried pepper spray and handcuffs. And I only ever used those handcuffs once. Didn't actually have to pepper spray the person. Just the threat of it was enough to make them comply with me. But that was an interesting job that I worked for about 9 months. And I met, actually, all of my friends that I'm still friends with at that job, because, as it turns out, a lot of like-minded gamers and video game people, as well as anime people, tend to work jobs that afford them a lot of free time that they can go and game and watch all the anime they want. So security is full of those kinds of people. But that was an interesting job, and I learned a lot. It also jaded me to the plight of, well, other people's problems, because dealing with those people's on a daily basis got really, really annoying. And the pay wasn't very good for the amount of work and risk that was involved. Afterwards, I ended up going to work as just a private security officer at what was effectively an empty office building, and that was really enjoyable. I worked there for a long time. And that afforded me a lot of, autonomy, because it was graveyard shift, and I was the only one there. There was nobody in the building, so I could effectively do what I wanted. Of course, my bosses didn't like the fact that my activity reports were almost copied and pasted every night. I'm like, we're not sure you're actually doing anything. It's like, you have cameras, you can look at them. There's literally nothing to do on this property. It's empty. Oh well. That actually gave me a lot of free time, and I started building the big Lego ships. These beautiful models that I'm somewhat famous for doing, depending on where you look. And I started doing it there because I had nothing to do all night long. Afterwards, I went to work as a contractor, private security, for a large corporation in the city, and that was a lot of office drama again. That was a lot of miscommunication and just overall a really bad environment. I ended up quitting that job when it gave me a stress attack because I couldn't deal with the amount of bullshit that the supervisors and the company were dropping on us every single day. They could not pick a set of policies and keep them for more than a 23-hour period. You'd walk in one morning, there was a set policy, The next morning you'd walk in and they'd update us and say, okay, we've had a policy change. You can't do this anymore, you can't do that anymore. So that was really just an annoyance. So that's basically the list of work history that I've done. Coming out of high school, I tried to join the Navy. Made it to day 104 in boot camp, and that is more than the Navy training period for the U.S. Navy. So you know, if you've ever been through the Navy, you'll know full well what that probably meant. Got a medical separation out of there. Went home. Got a job as a courtesy clerk, which also jaded me to a lot of social services. Things like food stamps, seeing what people would buy with my tax money. I had a 450-pound man who couldn't walk come through the checkout line with 8 2-liters of soda, a brick of cheese, and a loaf of bread. He couldn't afford the items that he was buying. So instead of putting back 2 or 3 or 4 of the 2-liter sodas, this man put back the loaf of bread so that he could afford the soda and the cheese. I lost a lot of respect for people on food stamps. Yes, I know there are people who use it legitimately, and I appreciate those people, but there are a lot of people who are just, you know what, I don't want to spend my tax money to continue your unhealthy habits, and it really does upset me. Or people who would come through the line, they'd put something back, they'd put a food item back because they couldn't afford it, and it was always something fresh and healthy for them, and then after they bought those items, they would pull out an additional $20 bill in cash and buy a pack of cigarettes. So. Oh well, not my problem. I do other things, and I just don't care. To answer somebody else's question, Spare Parts pointed out that yes, no, my building is not secure for packages. I live in the hood, and that's kind of actually true. I don't live in the hood. The neighborhood I live in is kind of nice, but the building I live in is not particularly well maintained, and the people who live here are not particularly the best kind of people. I've had a bicycle stolen from my back patio, and to be honest, I'm surprised it took as long as it did for it to finally disappear. To be fair, though, I'm kind of happy it disappeared. The work that the bicycle needed was something like $150 worth of work, and the bike itself was only worth maybe $100. So whoever stole it, I wish you the best of luck. Finding anything of use out of it. I actually joked after it was taken. I said I'm more upset that it was taken than the fact that it's gone. And I kind of half expect the person who took it to realize how much of a pain in the ass it would be to try and fix it, as well as get the U-bar lock off of it that was between the rear wheel and the frame, that it would just end up back on my patio one day, and I would catch him and I'd be like, no, you took it. It's your problem now. As for World of Warships, I will be getting back into playing that. I see that the French cruiser line is coming out. The high-tier French cruisers don't particularly look very good to me, so I probably won't be playing much beyond Tier 7, but the lower-tier cruisers actually look reasonably enjoyable. And so we'll hop into that and see how much I like playing it. If you were able to get in on the XP conversion sale, I hope many of you did. I did. So I have a lot of free XP waiting for the French or the Italian line. Again, it'll depend on what appeals to me. if you caught my live stream, you might have noticed the massive amount of free XP that I have. And, I mean, we're talking 1.8 million free XP on my account now. Plus 190,000, or not 190,000, 1.9, no, not 1.9, 190 million credits to go with that. So I think I'm good for tech tree research anytime in the near future. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. It wasn't a lot of gaming related stuff, I know, but just answering some questions, it's been fantastic. Hopefully that gives you a little more insight into who I am as a gamer, as a player, as a person. And I'll continue on with the captain's table in the future. Again, thinking about once every 2 to 3 weeks, so about twice a month, until it becomes more popular and I get more questions and more things happen in my life. I mean, right now it's go to work, do boring work-related stuff, come home, play video games, and all the best bits of my video gaming, well, you see up on YouTube anyway with my wonderful voice in commentary. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment or a question down below, and I'll answer it in my next video. If you'd like to get some irregular channel news and updates, you can do so by following me on Facebook if you haven't already. If you'd like to help support me and my channel grow, you can do so by supporting me and becoming my Patreon. If you've got just $1 or $2 a month to provide, every little bit helps, and any support level will grant you access to my World of Warships replays. Those are the replays that will either end up on YouTube themselves or didn't quite make the cut for YouTube. They just weren't as good as another replay, but the replays themselves, the battles, are fantastic and fun to watch, in my opinion, even without my commentary. So any support level will grant you instant access to that, as well as earning yourself a shout out at the end of one of my videos as a special thank you. If you've got a World of Warships replay that you'd like to see on my channel, you can send it to my email. And of course, if you haven't already, you can check out my live streaming on Twitch. I usually do that at Sundays around 10 o'clock Pacific time. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.